Hey everyone, welcome to Reppin. I'm Evelyn, your host. I'm so excited about our guest today. She is an Olivier-nominated actress, best known worldwide for not only reinventing the role of Christine Daaé in Lord Andrew Lloyd Webber's The Phantom of the Opera, but for the creator, Lord Webber himself went on record to say she's the best Christine certainly. She's portrayed this role in New York City on Broadway, in London's West End, and in the televised 25th anniversary concert production of Phantom. In London, she was in Les Miserables, Love Never Dies, which was the sequel to Phantom, and back stateside on Broadway, her credits included the Tony-nominated musical School of Rock, It Should Have Been You, the revival of Masterclass, and she starred as Ariel in The Little Mermaid, where she was nominated for a Drama Desk and Drama League Award and won Broadway.com's Audience Choice Award. She's toured all over the world across Australia, Japan, Paris, and London with her concerts, so you get it. She's insanely talented, and she's here. My guest today is Sierra Boggess. Sierra, thanks so much for joining me here. I really appreciate it. I know we're both in the same city, but it's kind of a weird place to be right now. But how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm trying to normalize this by keeping a schedule, which helps me anyways in the world, but especially during this time when people are asking me how can I help myself or something, that's something that I offer, is just like try and keep as much of a schedule as you can, if that is helpful to you, you know?
Yeah, but it's a very weird time. Let's start with this. You are insanely talented. I love your voice. You've been in some amazing productions, Phantom, Les Mis, Little Mermaid. Can you talk a little bit about some of the experiences that you've had doing these shows, and what sorts of things have you learned professionally and personally?
Well, it's interesting when you come onto the scene playing everybody's favorite Disney princess, because I loved that. That's like a dream come true on so many levels and spiritual levels and everything. But what comes with that you don't realize is there is a lot of pressure, not put on you by Disney at all, but your own self, at least for me, because I don't want to be the one who ruins Ariel for everyone, you know? And so you're trying to do your show plus all of the extra appearances that you have to do. I was constantly just trying to keep up the image that needs to be kept up with, because again, you can't be the one that ruins Ariel. And so then once I left the show and I went to London to do my first show in the West End, that's when I really started figuring out who I am in the industry, and who I am is enough, and that I'm allowed to be myself. And again, I want to say this was all put on myself by myself. This wasn't Disney's fault. This wasn't anyone's fault. This was mine because I am accustomed to being a people pleaser, and actors are people pleasers. It's weird because people think actors are really selfish and like all these weird things that people have about actors and crazy, and all of us are extroverts and all this. That's not so. I'm definitely an extroverted introvert. I don't mind this time, where we're like having to figure out our own time and stuff. But I was figuring out these things in myself of who I am, and this is not what I was trained in. I was trained in, singing and dancing and acting and trying to be the very best, and, all the stuff that comes with it. But I remember when I was doing Love Never Dies, actually, and this is 2010. So social media wasn't really a thing yet. It was just starting. And that's what people should remember too. That's like, when I did Little Mermaid, it was 2008, 7 and 8. And Twitter was just starting and wasn't even that big of a deal yet. So we didn't have this social media, but it was starting to be a thing. And I remember when I joined Twitter, I had to get off of it and all social media, which only was like Facebook at that time. And so I got off of all of that stuff because it felt like suddenly everybody knew where I am, and like everybody knows too much. And I had to get a handle on it myself and realize like, wait, what do I want to put out in the world? And it took me like some months for me to be in charge of it as opposed to it being in charge of me. And so when I talk to people about this kind of stuff and they ask, like when I teach masterclass and stuff and they ask me about social media and things like that, and I say, we're in control of what we're putting out there. We are also in control of what we're following and what we're watching. And so I do this thing with people that's like, cleanse your feed. If you're following something that doesn't bring you joy or inform you, why are you following it? So if you're following something to mock it, if you're following something because you want to see what so-and-so says so that you can retweet and be like, how dare you and whatever, don't follow it. Like our currency is our follow. Our currency is our, I'm friends with, and so unfollow it because that's putting something into your soul too each day, having to look and see what's on your feed. Anyways, all of this to say, I think it all goes hand in hand with my resume, I guess, because I had such major shows right off the bat that people feel like they owned. People feel like they own the story of The Little Mermaid. They own the story of Phantom of the Opera. So they certainly felt like they were ready to judge a show called Love Never Dies, which was the sequel to Phantom of the Opera. So I basically joined this industry in a crash course of what other people think of you, what other people have defined you as, all this kind of stuff. So all of that to say, and to answer your question, what did you learn? All of the above, and that you can't really escape from other people's expectations. So instead of trying to fight against it or be upset by it, it's to almost embrace it's like, okay, that's what the expectation is. Does it jive with my integrity, my own integrity? If it does, then all right. And if not, then we're not going to touch it,
You said a lot of great things there. And, that was pretty badass in the sense that you had the ability to stop, recognize, and say to yourself, both subconsciously and consciously, that you have to cleanse your feed. I think that's the best way to say it. But I want to go back further. When you joined these productions and you started to realize that there was a lot more to being in entertainment than just being on stage. I mean, there's a lot more.
Yeah.
You're trying to be the best that you can be in this business, which is already a very challenging industry to be in. I mean, there's just so much that comes at you all the time.
Yep.
And that aside, just training is so much work. I would imagine that you have to train like an athlete because you have to take care of your body. It's a rigorous schedule. Can you tell me about that moment when you first realized there was so much more to contend with and how you decided you made a choice of how to contend with that?
Yes, I remember exactly. I started receiving fan mail and I'd never received fan mail before. Why would you? And these are the things people don't think about. And I didn't think about, and you don't prepare for. I have a BFA in musical theater. I took all the classes. In order to graduate the degree in musical theater, you need like 30 credits or something. It's like insane. And most normal majors need like 12. Right. It's insane. So yes, I had prepped and practiced and everything to get where I was, but I didn't know about all the backstage stuff, all the things, all the expectations, everything, and how quickly, and I say this again because I want people to realize that this didn't happen because there was social media pushing us out there. This was a time when that wasn't it yet.
Right.
There was like a trailer on YouTube.
Right.
So the fact that it hit in this way, and that's why I have a lot of empathy, I think, for people that are starting out now, because I got asked a question the other day in a masterclass I taught that was like, how did you promote yourself when you graduated college? And I was like, oh my God, that's the world y'all are living in. Like, how do you promote yourself? No, that's not like, anyway. So the moment was, I was getting fan mail, and I was getting no ordinary fan mail. I was getting fan mail that were people confessing the darkest, deepest parts of their souls. I had people talking to me about they've been struggling with eating disorders. people, trans people, people wondering how to come out to their parents, people cutting themselves.
Oh my God.
I was getting so much. And what I realized is people are writing me this because it's the first time that Ariel is accessible to them. And I'm talking people that were like my age, in their 20s mostly is what I was getting. So people who've identified, because Ariel was our Disney princess. And so, you know, the movie came out in 89, I think.
Yeah, something like that.
And so it's like, it really informed our young lives. And that's sort of the one that we've been following. What I realized is Ariel represents the person born in the wrong body, the wrong time, the wrong place. Yeah. Did that just blow your mind?
Holy shit. Yeah, it totally did. But you're right.
I just always was asking why and then I'm like, oh God, the common theme is that's finally they're talking to Ariel. They don't know Sierra Boggess, but Sierra Boggess represents this. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that is crazy.
Right.
Wait a second. I was going to ask you what show this was, but apparently this was The Little Mermaid. And for me, before you broke it down this way, it made no sense of why you were getting these like fiercely personal letters, why it would be going to The Little Mermaid. But now that you mentioned it, that makes sense. I've
always been interested in the psychology of why. And I started articulating it like this maybe only 3 years ago. And this is 12 years ago that I did Little Mermaid.
Right.
But I knew inside during that time, what I responded to was it's like these people feel comfortable and need to talk to me, but knowing this, like, it's actually that they want to talk to Ariel. Why would they want to talk to? And so what I realized is like, it would be irresponsible of me to write back with some type of therapized thing. It would be irresponsible of me to let them know that I can keep talking to you and like reach out to me anytime, because that's not something that I can take on or should.
Right.
And, you know, so that's when I realized that was like, hold on. You know, I think it's Oprah who said this. It's like, people just want to be heard.
Right.
They just want to tell their story.
Yeah.
And so I realized if I just write back the person's name, you are enough, love Sierra, and then in quotes, I would put Ariel. And that's how I started writing back. And to this day, that's how I write back. I don't care. You know, it's like mostly that's what people just want to know, that they were seen and that they matter. And my response to everyone, there isn't a single person I wouldn't say this to. You are enough. Even people that I find some of the worst human beings on the planet. Right. Like I was thinking about this morning. I saw something, and I try not to see things like this, but you can't help it.
Right.
Or I don't seek it out.
Of course not.
And I saw something and it just made me feel sick. And I thought to myself, if we were to teach children that's like, this is who never to be like, this person would be there. I would, in my opinion, I would still, given the chance, tell that person, you are enough. Because I hope when I say that to people that they remember that I'm speaking to the part, the forgotten soul that is enough, and that what you've chosen to do, awful human, is be so psychologically like the other side of enough, of being so, I am so sad for whatever happens to people to make them the way that they are, you know? And so anyways, that's what I write back to people is you are enough. And that was the moment, is receiving fan mail and understanding with that, I have a responsibility beyond being on stage. That's when I realized it.
Now, you are enough. I don't know if I sat here for a month, I don't know that I would actually come up with something so succinct. So how did you come up with the most appropriate statement of encouragement and love and acceptance? It is you are enough is such a powerful and direct statement that says so much more.
Yes.
Because I think I would have written 6 pages and still would have never gotten to that. How did you come up with that?
So when I was 17 years old, I took my first master class, and it was in Denver, Colorado. And it was with a woman named Mary Satrakian, who has since become a dear friend of mine. And I was taking the class, so I sang in it, but I also sat and watched other people take it. And there was someone singing, and she said to them, and it was like to try and get them to stop moving so much. You know, we talk all the time when I teach, it's really, a lot of times my note is just that. That's like, just stop, like, you're enough. Your story is enough. She said to them, just off the cuff, she was like, oh, no, it's just like, you're enough. You're so enough. It's incredible how enough you are. That's what she said. And I am somebody who needs to write things down. I'm a very visual learner. So I thought that was the funniest thing I'd ever heard. I'd never heard someone be like, you're enough. You're so enough. It's incredible how enough you are. I thought it was so funny. And I wrote it down in my notebook, and it was exactly those words. And I took it as exactly that. That's like, oh, I'm going to stand stiller. It wasn't until, and that this notebook, this little yellow notebook that I still have, it became my notebook from all master classes that I ended up taking all through college, everything. And I had it in my room during Little Mermaid. And I would, before I went on stage, I would read like anything from there. And I mean, I took master classes everywhere from Mary Satrakian, who people is in a household name, to Julie Andrews. I didn't sing for her, but I took the class. I was in the class.
Right.
Susan, like all these people, Ben Vereen, all these incredible
legends.
Yes. And I came across that quote again, and I ended up paraphrasing it. It's weird. I just changed the incredible to unbelievable just on accident. I just started saying it. And I was like, wait, this means more than just put your hands by your side. This is like valuable shit.
Yeah.
And it's like,
that's
it really
seriously
is. And
deep.
yeah. And it was just this thing that I heard. And when I've talked to her about it, I started really using it, and she didn't even remember she said it, of course, because it was just like this thing just off the cuff. And I just love the wording of it. So it then started just to become my war cry. And it has been, now I'm as known for You Are Enough as I am for playing Christine in Phantom, and I love. That I love.
That's pretty amazing. First of all, to even step into the role of Christine Daaé is amazing, and you crushed it.
Do you want me to blow your mind about Christine really quick?
Sure. You already did.
Here's my psychological analysis.
Hit me.
Just like I did of Ariel, right? She's the person born, the mermaid. Well, let's say the person born in the wrong body, time, place, orientation, whatever it is. This doesn't feel right, right? That's what people are latching onto. Christine represents the one who can love the unlovable.
What?
And that right there is why I think so many people lose their shit about me as Christine, or anyone actually. Yeah. There's fans about any Christine. Anyways, so Christine's the one who loves the unlovable. And that's why I think people want to talk to me so bad about Christine, because they feel loved. They saw me come off stage and it's like, oh, she loved someone who was deeply unlovable. So now I feel loved. That ultimately is the psychology behind this. And I've given it a lot of thought. And I don't know why, but I just do.
I think you're dead on. But like I said, I would have never... First of all, my head is still spinning about the Little Mermaid. Born in the wrong body, wants to fit in, struggles to kind of deal with the family acceptance. And certainly you're right about Christine Daaé, but I will go one step further, and you probably will be way too humble to say this. People also want to talk to you because you're so freaking talented as well. So you bring those characters to life. That has a lot to do with it.
Okay, I'll receive that.
How did you figure that out?
Because again, when you start receiving so many letters, just countless, I start seeing the same patterns and of what people are saying and how they love Christine and stuff. And I'm like, I just got interested in the why again. It's like, well, why? Because I was one of those kids too. And that's always why fan mail feels so weird, or actually fans in person feel so weird, because I'm like,
you were one of those
I
kids.
still feel the same. I feel like that, like about others. So that was the thing, is that asking, why do they love her so much? They don't know, but that is ultimately what it is. And so many people don't feel loved. So many people feel like they're not seen, and that's their need. And that's why I love, people ask me what character I could come back to. And I always say Christine. In a heartbeat, I would play her again, because every time I've played her, it grows more and more. And I don't care if I'm supposed to be I'm doing the same movements for 30, that's been preserved for 35 plus years.
Right.
But it means something different each time, and it grows, because she is, I don't know, with all these characters that I've played, and I would think anybody that loves what they do feels like this about their characters. It's like, I can make a case for every single one of them, and I love them. And it is my responsibility to do their story justice, or tell their story. And that's what I tell kids too when they take class and they get into the fear spiral, and I say, get off yourself and get on the other. Get off yourself. Stop worrying about, oh God, what do you think of me? Get on the other. Get on to what it is that is the reason you're doing this.
Can you set up what masterclass is for people who may not know?
Yeah. So I get asked all the time, can you teach voice lessons? And I say, no, I'm not qualified to teach voice lessons. And I don't think anybody should teach a voice lesson who hasn't taken vocal pedagogy, and I don't know how to teach you how to sing. But in a master class, I can tell you how to act a song. And by the way, I always qualify every class with, this is the world according to Sierra. This is not the only way. This is what works for me. Now, you can't do that if you're teaching someone how to physically sing. There is a right and wrong way to do it. It's like teaching ballet. There's a right and wrong way to do it. And there's all that, and then you can play in between. I don't know how to give you the basics.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
But in a master class, I teach you how to connect what you're singing to what your emotional and spiritual life is inside. And that's more important than, can you just sing a high note?
Well, you can do both really well, but there's something else that I want to go back to that you said that I loved. You said my war cry is your mantra of, you are enough, you are so enough. It's unbelievable how enough you are. I love that you said it's your war cry, and it's really such you embrace people. I mean, it is love. Your war cry is love. Is that fair to say?
Yes. Or remembering. It's almost like, it's a loving nudge to remember.
Right.
There it is.
Because you said, like, going back to horrible people, and there are many that are out there, but we're not going to talk about them right now.
Yeah.
I think your choice of how you respond to difficult people is interesting, and it's so powerful. Look, I'll say this. I care about people a lot. I always want them to do well and to be well. Mm-hmm. But after a certain point, if that person is so unresponsive and immoral, or is just really impossible for whatever reason, and I've done everything that I possibly could to make things better, I kind of get to a point where I go, I don't wish you any ill will, but I'm going to walk away from this.
Yep.
You, however, would respond with love. You're a better person than I am. That's basically what I'm saying.
I disagree. I'm not, because I've had to work on that in therapy when it's time to walk away, because I'll stay because I don't know, for some, it's like, oh, there isn't anything noble. Actually, there's nothing more. I'll say this. The noblest thing to do is to walk away. There are times when you must.
Yes.
There are times when you stay, and there are times when it's time to go, because you can't. And I've had so much therapy on this shit, because it is the thing where it's like, oh, I got it. It's like, how can I keep, like, I'll fix it. I'll keep being the one, because I can handle it. and I have that in me for sure. It's like, I can handle this. And who better to handle it than me? No, no, ma'am.
That's great. And that, I'm not saying that, like, I'm saying, but your first response is to first answer with love, answer hate with love.
Yes. That is always my first response. Yes.
That takes an incredible amount of strength. I just wanted to acknowledge that. I don't think that's always the easiest response or reaction. I think a lot of times when people get into conversations of different kinds, situations, people react and they don't have the ability to stop for a second and answer with love versus getting more worked up to get their point of view across.
Yeah.
So not falling into that reactive state, that takes a lot of strength, Sierra. And I guess that's kind of what I'm trying to get at.
Okay.
Did you sort of see that?
I haven't looked at it like that, but thank you. And I will endeavor to receive that. Receiving is so hard, but yes, I guess so. But I would also argue that it's the easier way to go about it. It makes me less anxious and angry to respond immediately with love, or respond immediately with psychologically trying to understand why someone's doing what they do, as opposed to just immediate first response, I'm going to write you off. Now, my friend has described me as this, actually.
What's that?
He said, you have a very long fuse, he said. He said, you have a very long fuse, but when it's done, it's done. And that is 100% true. If you use up that fuse, I'm done. Like, I couldn't be more done. And within that, it's not because it's like, I'll show you, but it's like, yeah, until you come at me being like, I'm different now, or I changed or something, then we can start a new fuse. But if we're not, I've used up all the things and I have too many other things to do, and that I'm too interested in other people that are interested in being like good or wonderful people to be around. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I hear you, but I don't think it's just a fuse. I think when you're a big-hearted person, you tend to give everything that you've got. And as women, we also tend to be people pleasers.
Yes.
And then being in the entertainment industry, that sort of turns up that dial way up. So I think once you're tapped out of your resources, girl, you gave it everything you had at times 10.
That's it.
And you got to kind of walk away.
Yep.
There's another thing that I wanted to get to, and it's your social media, which I follow and love. You have this unbelievable, beautiful sense of joy and gratitude, and you have this extreme, I was going to say infectious, but it's a bad time to use that word, infectious, right now. Infectious, fun-loving self, even on a day-to-day. Now, you are human, so I know that's not always, that's impossible for you to have that constantly. But I think overall, you have this really wonderful sense of gratitude, joy, and playfulness. Can you talk about where that comes from? How do you sort of harness that? And what does it bring to your life? And how do you protect it?
I used to get in trouble all the time when I was a kid for being wild.
Okay.
Like, Sierra, stop being so wild, And it was just like, I was wild with my appendages, I was an ice skater for 10 years, and it's like, stay in control. In control is what was my note I would get all the time for competitions. And I just if you're out of control, then you're not building the muscles, and it's great. So I was never afraid of, and I loved attention and being in front of people. But then self-doubt came in, and doubt is learned behavior. So that all started happening later. But I got a lot of results as a kid for being like, if I made people laugh. And that's what I always thought, is I was going to be a character actress. That's all I cared about, was any of the character-y parts, and the ones who were funny. That's who I gravitated towards in any shows or anything that I saw when I was a kid. But the world, that's a whole other thing. The world saw me as something else. And I became like ye olde ingenue, which now I love and embrace.
Right.
And actually have a lot to say on that. But it's easy for me to find anything to be grateful for. And let me say this. This is one of my really, especially during this time, I don't want to hear, if there's one phrase that I'd never want to hear again in life is I'm bored.
Okay, why?
Because boredom, it's a choice. I can't say this loudly enough. It's a choice, you guys. Are you kidding? You're bored. Here's what I would say. I know what people mean. It's like, oh, so boring. Well, find something to be interested in. Even if I'm just sitting at a table and there's nothing there. Say I'm in a room with just a table and I'm sat and my job is to sit there for 3 hours. Well, here's how you stay interested. You just start in imagining like this table became this because of somebody had a thought. It's like that kind of stuff. It's like all the things. This is why I always get so confused why artists especially need to do drugs. Well, anybody, because it's like you can literally contemplate why a table is a table and be completely sober. And also, I don't understand in our industry too, because it's like you want to feel high, go on stage for a second, like get ready for that opening night. That's what feeling high is. You want the come down, it's the next day. Right. You want, yeah. It's like, it happens all the time. And so it's just like, oh, anyway. So yeah, I just think there's always, always, always something to be interested in. And if you're not interested, then start playing the grateful game. And especially now, the fact that there is this virus that attacks your lungs. If you aren't fucking waking up every day saying, I am grateful to breathe in and out, and talk to your GD lungs, telling them, thank you for doing the job. And there's an entire body, the entire organs that are working for you. They're literally on the job. You know who's not out of work right now? Your organs. And I've never said that before, but that's good. I might tweet that.
But it needs to be said. But you're right. Not having to worry about breathing.
How to take a breath.
Yeah.
When we're seeing every day, there are people that cannot take a breath anymore. People that were healthy, that suddenly they need a machine to help them breathe. It's like, that's again why. So how do I cultivate that spirit? I get grateful. The gratitude is, and I'm telling you this right now, you're absolutely right that each day isn't just rainbows and butterflies.
No, it can't be.
And it is not a thing to try and stay positive all the time. That's not a thing. But what it is I can see the positive much quicker than before, than if you weren't somebody who's trying to see the positive in the situation. But how I protect it is I do not seek out things that I know are going to bring me down. I will not seek it out. And there came a point in my life that I became much more interested in feeling good than feeling like shit. And I think one of the mistakes that we make, especially as artists, is we think that we won't be good on stage if we're not in pain all the time.
Yeah, that's true.
So that it is. And I stayed stuck in that too. It's like, oh, and the tortured artist thing and like,
And you got to feel your pain. You got to feel your art.
Yes. And I'm like, nah, you felt it. Do you know what other human emotions we need to portray on stage? Joy. You know?
But Sierra, again, do you realize that, and I'm going to speak very generally, is that most people do not have that ability to do what you're saying. I agree with you completely. I don't think I've ever been bored. You realize that what you just laid out about not being bored, about understanding how blessed we are, that we don't have to think about breathing.
Yes.
That is not something that most people do, stop and think about breathing, because why would you, right? So where did you sort of learn how to, and forgive me, I can't come up with a better way of explaining this, but slow your roll and sort of realize hey, not to get caught up in the momentum of the situation, but to kind of be able to step back and look at it and make a choice of how to respond. How did you get that?
I think part of it is Disney training. because that's a thing. Like I had Disney training.
What is that?
And you can't, well, it's like, I mean, that's what I called it, but it was like, we had media training.
That I know.
During Little Mermaid. And I would call it Disney training. And I call it Disney training, specifically Disney, because of what I said. You don't want to be the one who's ruining Disney for people and all that. And it is important when you sign up for that, it is part of what you're signing up for.
Right.
And it is very important. And if it's not important to you, then don't sign up. But what it taught me is you do need to think twice before you answer a question, and also keeping things light, that people need that too. And I think then when I transferred it over to what I want to do on social media, which is very real, that's not going away anytime soon. So who do you want to be? And I got more interested in putting out what I wasn't seeing. It's like, where there is no love, be love. Where there is no kindness, be kindness. Instead of just like, oh, there's nothing kind here. It's like, so be it. And I've talked with somebody who about, we're very different people. And we had a discussion about like that we're actually on the same side of like the justice, calling it the Justice League. It's like, we're on the same side that we want justice. Yeah. We want justice,
right?
But how you go about it is completely different. So I try, and even when I post, I'll try and say like I'll say we instead of you need to. I'll say we need to. So I just started realizing this, like if I'm including this, it won't feel, first of all, like I'm preaching, and I don't want it to feel preachy anyways, because I think people shut down. Second of all, people take everything that they read and treat it as like fact, or that it's like I am as qualified as anybody. But there are people who have like Brene Brown is one of like, I love Brene Brown. She's a researcher. It's like, listen to people with actual data.
Right.
Again, this is what works for me. So my feed should actually be called The World According to Sierra. Maybe I'll change it to that. How I learned to do this is, again, being more interested in feeling good. And by doing that, then you just get grateful. And it feels like if I'm not being grateful for something, and I mean, I set a timer. I made myself do this because like I said, I like a schedule and I need an assignment because I'm wild. I would rather be like, but it helps me to learn the rules so that I know where to like play in them. But I have a reminder on my phone that comes up at a certain time each day that says, what are you grateful for? So that no matter what, I have held myself accountable to being grateful for at least one thing today. And I offer that to people all the time. That's, instead of the attitude of gratitude, it's a gratitude practice. Well, that's one way that I do a gratitude practice. How I put it into practice is, oh, this came up, this reminder. I'm not allowed to just turn off the reminder. I have to say in my head, or if I'm with somebody, it's like, what are you grateful for? And we'll say it.
It's a real practice. So I think that it takes a tremendous amount of discipline, heart, and awareness to be able to do all these things. Because again, when you're kind of in the moment, it's really hard to pause, look at it, and then choose to react a different way. People just kind of get caught up in it. And then they don't have the ability to say, okay, well, I'm going to stop and practice being grateful.
Well, I think they do have the ability. And okay. I will say we have the ability, because I know I went through that phase too. It's like, I call it like my old high school self.
All right.
Whereas like I had a chip on my shoulder and it's like I knew everything, like whatever, and being reactive. And I was around a lot of reactive people in my school too. But I think it's that we do have the ability, but you need to have the desire to act different. And there came a point where I desired to act different. Marianne Williamson, it's so weird invoking her name now, because now people think of her politically because she was running as a candidate, but I'm talking about the Marianne that I knew before, like
right,
like pre-political
career.
that miracles begin to happen. I'm paraphrasing, but it's like miracles begin to happen when you start to consider there might be another way. And it's like, that's so it. There's another amazing person that I follow, Gabrielle Bernstein, and I think she was like a little protege, maybe even of Marianne, but she says the prayer that she says is in times like crazy times is, help me reinterpret this. So to whatever you believe is higher than you, whatever it is that what is science, I don't care what it is, anything that you believe is higher than you, help me reinterpret this. And I take that phrase as, because my earthly self can only see this far. So you who knows more than I do, you infinite wisdom, help me reinterpret this. I'm stuck on a loop, and I cannot tell you the amount of times that I have cried that out. That's like, I'm stuck on a loop. I'm just stuck and I can't see a way out of it. And I don't feel like being grateful. I don't feel like being grateful. And the answer is always, what are you grateful for? That's always the answer. And it's annoying as fuck. Sometimes it's like, I can't tell you, there has been times where I've been so low, and through tears, I am grateful for my four walls. I am great. And you say you are grateful for anything until you feel better.
I think it's great that you lead by example.
That's good. Thank you.
I want to talk about light lessons. Tell the audience what it is. I know what it is, but tell the audience what it is and why that's so important to you and how you're using it to pay it forward.
Okay. Light lessons specifically are a bag of words or phrases that I find very helpful. What I like to use them for is, you pull a word from the bag and don't look. And then you look at the word that you've chosen, and it could be gratitude practice is one of them that's in there. And that might be the way that I start my day. Or for people, if you're going into a difficult meeting, and now a Zoom meeting even, or a Zoom call, and it's like, how do you want to walk into this with a gratitude practice? Or be brave is in there, or kindness is in there. You are enough is in there. And I always found it very helpful to pull a phrase or a word before I went on stage. And people ask all the time, like, how do you keep it fresh 8 times a week? And it's a year of contract and stuff. And it's so easy because, again, boredom isn't a thing. So there's always something to find. But a lot of times if I'm stuck and it's like, oh, I don't feel I've done this so much, I'm tired. It's like, I'll pull a word, and then that's my focus for the show. So it's just, why I find it helpful is that it's something you can always come back to when you are straying from that, because that's why meditation is so great in the morning. It's like, clear your mind. And what if then you just have one single positive word or phrase, so that when you inevitably get stuck in the day, then go back to what was my theme for the day? What was my motto? So that's light lessons.
I love it. We talked about, you do workshops and you nurture young talents and young adults. And I think even in those workshops, you're not just imparting a skill of how to translate, I think you said, the story into the song, or the song into the story?
Both.
But you're also working with young adults in terms of showing them who you are, and you impart those values that we're talking about. Given all the different ways that you're putting yourself and your energy out there, even just going through your Instagram makes me laugh and smile, and
good.
It's so light and fun. So you're doing a lot with your masterclass, with your social media, your gratitude practice, of course, all of your stage work. Taking all of that into consideration, what was one moment for you that really stays with you, that made an impact on you, and you realized that you were making a difference on somebody else?
Oh, that I was making a difference on someone else?
Yeah. Was there one moment where somebody said something to you, either a colleague or an audience member, or somebody that you worked with in the workshops or your light lessons, or I don't know, on the bus, that may have said something to you that stayed with you, and you realized, yeah, I'm doing the right thing?
There isn't any one thing. I think it's, I learned this phrase in therapy too that was like, I have a really great therapist. He said to never believe your own hype. And so even when someone says something that's like, that is, wow, I hear it and then I'd sort of send it away. And I think it's like this unconscious, definitely not conscious. It's not like, well, I don't want to hold on to that, but unconsciously it sort of goes. So I have a hard time thinking specifically, but I know how I feel when I know that I'm making a difference when, for example, I jump on now a Zoom call to teach a class through Broadway Workshop. I work with a lot through Broadway Workshop. So I don't know who's going to be in my class, but suddenly there's people from all over the world that are taking my class.
That's awesome.
And that is when I know I've made a difference, because we don't have these huge followings because Broadway is small.
I mean, it's still big, but comparatively speaking to television and film, yeah.
It's, a few people. I think because I had the fortune of the shows I'm known for are international successes.
Huge, yeah.
But it lets me know that I did them justice, that I have these people from all over the world. The other day I taught a class and there was someone from Japan and it was 4 a.m. their time.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, you woke up to it meant that much to you to wake up. Like, that's the stuff that lets me know that's like, okay, what I'm doing is making a difference, but I have to hold it lightly so that then I don't become the caricature of myself doing this because, it's like, also another phrase, be ruthlessly onto yourself. Be ruthlessly onto your own bullshit and what you're up to. So if I make something because I'm like, oh, this will get these ones, then it's not going to be great. And you're not going to respond to it. And it's not going to get the response that you think that it will. And it's not going to feel good. But if it comes, or a lot of my like weirdo fun stuff that I do comes organically from just me coming, like, oh, my what are you grateful for just came up. Well, I'm definitely grateful for this conversation and that you have this platform in order to have meaningful conversations.
Thank you. It's not possible if it weren't for people like you.
Woohoo!
But going back to what you were saying about ruthlessly being on your own bullshit.
Yeah. And also just like being ruthlessly myself. And on my social platform, I can be ruthlessly myself without, I think, ruining Ariel. So I love to cuss. High virtual 5.
Yes.
I think fuck is a very important word. It's a verb. It's a noun. It's an everything.
You feel so much better after you fucking say it.
So much better. And I think it's good for women to say it because there is something that's so not good about it.
Yeah, we're not
and
being
it's
proper.
Good for us to do that.
Yeah.
Especially those people pleasers, And so so I'm careful on my social because I would say it is part of Sierra also to respect that I have young fans. Being Ariel, I also have very young fans.
Yes. No, I fucking agree.
Yes!
But going back, representation for us, or for me, is not just about race, gender, and orientation. It's another way of asking, who are you? What are your beliefs? What are your values? Who you are? And you can be many things. How would you define representation from your point of view?
How I would define representation.
Yeah, this is not the signature end, but yeah.
No, I know, because without saying my answer of me specifically. But it is interesting as I was reflecting for myself on I've actually never been asked that. And we've all been having a war cry of representation matters. Yet we haven't really truly unpacked what that means.
Yes.
And so you're giving an opportunity right now to actually reflect on what that means. It's interesting. It's like people want to see themselves and need to see themselves reflected. And if we are inextricably connected as humans, which we are, by the way, and if a pandemic doesn't teach us that, I don't know what will.
Right.
Because it's interesting. we are having to isolate,
Right.
or else we will all die.
Right.
And so we are doing that for each other. So it's actually the least isolating thing you can do,
Right.
is by isolation, you are connecting.
Yeah.
So we're representing the human race. We're representing for each other by showing up for ways that we can see ourselves reflected. I see myself reflected in the person that is choosing to wear the mask. I also see myself reflected in and represented in the person who is angry that they have to wear the mask.
Yes.
Basically every single facet of you. And so maybe representation is so important because it gives you permission to be human. If I see myself and I felt that emotion about that. Oh, okay. That's what that when we see that represented, that's what that looks like when I do that. That's ugly. I don't like it. I'm going to change that. I'm going to be better. That's what that looks like when I do that. I love that. I'm going to do some more of that. That's what representation means.
It's a big question, isn't it?
It really is, but it's worthy.
Yeah.
It's so worthy.
Well, I love talking with you, Sierra, but give us our signature sign off. Let us know who you are and what you represent.
My name is Sierra Boggess, and I represent light workers, people who are workers for the light. And by the way, everyone, that is all of us. If you are working for the dark, you've forgotten that you are actually made of light.
Huge thanks to Sierra Boggess for her time. I loved talking with her, and I'm grateful that she came by and shared her experiences and light with us. Be sure to follow this amazing talent. Her Twitter handle is @SierraBoggess, and her Instagram is official Sierra Boggess. She'll definitely bring a smile to your face. And on the next Reppin, he was Kevin Tran from Supernatural, Damien from Demon X. Osric Chau is coming to hang out.
Hey, this is Osric Chau. Don't miss my episode of Reppin coming up next.
Reppin is available on all top podcast platforms, so here's a pro tip. Be sure to subscribe, share, and leave a review. You can always reach us on Twitter @Reppin Podcast and follow us on Instagram. That handle is Reppin_podcast. And you'll see who's coming up next and get exclusive behind-the-scenes content. Thanks always to my technical director and musical composer, Nelson Pinero, for all of his time, talent, and care. And always love and thanks to Gracie Kong. Reppin is a Suburban Outlaw Productions. Thank you for joining us. Until next time, stand up and represent.